Okay, so this movie is a pretty decent cast, weird plot, and gotta talk about it. It was not really a childhood movie. I did watch it during my childhood, but didn't remember too much about it. So it stars the girl that was in Girls Meets World, which is a show that I'm not gonna rewatch because of the whole autism episode that I do not agree with, and a lot of people don't agree with. I don't care if the show was good in any other way. It was just a very harmful way they portrayed autism. But anyways, the other one is the girl that was in she was in an episode of The Thundermans, and she was also one of the main characters in Mighty Med. And she was in the spinoff for um Lab Rats Elite Force. And then of course we got the kid that's in Diary of a Wimpy Kid and who was in Jessie. Karen Bra, I think is how you say his name. He's in here too. He's basically invisible, yet he is not the main character. It's pretty ironic. I don't know why they would write him that way, but um, early on in the movie, the sister that's supposedly, invisible, she's not as popular as other people. Her parents don't really pay attention to her as much as the other sister. You know, she just she's just basically invisible to everybody. But very early on in the movie, she gets invited to a party, which she declines, which upsets her friend. Speaking of her friend, in the very same scene, they don't even remember his name. He calls him Little Dude, and later he meets him again, and once again, doesn't even know his name. He's basically invisible. But, for whatever reason, it's the girl that got invited to a party that declined stuff. And occasionally her parents don't show her as much love as she wants. Which, it's still pretty valid because, she's a teenager. But I really don't understand why they made the other kid, you know, have like multiple scenes of people forgetting who he was. And then not make him the one that's invisible. There's also this teacher that really pisses me off. He doesn't even give an explanation why to the other thing he does, so I'm gonna talk about that. She does this project that everybody else is doing. He's not gonna force anybody else to change their thing, just her because he thinks she's smart. So he gives her a very hard project that she has no idea how to do because he thinks she's smart and says, "Hey, it's 50% of your grade. You're gonna fucking fail if you don't do it." All because she's smart. And then he's kind of a dick about it too. He's like, breaking news, you have to do like science and science class. So is the project she originally doing not science then? Because you got fucking seven other kids doing it. I don't get your point here. So she brings up, hey, my friend, he's also doing really good in this class. You're not going to make him do it? And he's kind of like, oh, um, doesn't really give a good answer. So then later he's talks to her sister and he's like, "Oh yeah, I went full mean teacher on her." You did more than that. And he's not here to apologize to her or anything. He still thinks what he did is right, just that maybe he was too mean. How are you going to give a kid a way harder project than everybody else just because she's smart? That is not what you're supposed to do. So eventually, she's working on that project. A moth gets into it, it turns invisible. She wants to use that for her project, so she chases it. It leaves. It literally leaves. It flies away. Because eventually, she gets to the gate of her house. Gate's open and it flies through it. And the moth's gone. But it comes back to the house and falls into her sister's drink. And she drinks it. And she becomes invisible. And then there's this whole speech where she basically talks about how she feels invisible. And her sister's right there. Yet her sister has no clue how she feels. Even though she basically had the whole fucking speech telling how she felt. Yet later, the movie's got to blatantly throw it in your face where she has to say that she feels invisible, even though she basically did in that scene. Um, it's an okay movie. It's not the best. There really isn't much to it. It didn't really have a satisfying ending, but it was entertaining for a kids movie.